Now he has my attention, but let's see how long he can actually keep it there. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. You guys know that I've been talking about the lawsuit that Kiely Rodni's family has filed against Ryan Upchurch because the Kiely Rodni case is very important to me, and I plan to follow it through until it actually gets to its final destination, wherever that may actually be. Sammy Smith, being a liar, at least to me, with every fiber of my being, is the reason why I began recording true crime videos in the first place. Literally, my initial video ever on true crime is a reaction to the interview that Sammy Smith did on American Dream Chaser. Everything that girl was alluding called my name and said, tell the world that this girl is not telling the truth. Tell the world that there is something else here, and you know that I have not been incorrect in that. The autopsy report coming out proves that there is no way that Kiely Rodni could have been conscious if she went into the water the way that the fire cams showed that she went into the water and still have ended up drowning in her vehicle. Fire cams showed that her vehicle was maybe going 10-ish miles an hour. Windows were actually rolled down, not broken out from any sort of impact. Her alcohol levels were the same of those of normal decomposition levels, and we're supposed to believe that she was so highly intoxicated that she was stumbling over things, forgot that she had already told Sammy Smith bye, and called her a few minutes after this conversation just to see if she still needed a ride because she was apparently so out of it she didn't remember having that conversation with Sammy. We're supposed to believe that she was so intoxicated that she drove at 10 miles per hour into the water, floated to the bottom to her death, and never tried to escape with her tiny frame out of a widely open all the way down window. And, you know, there was more than one window that looked like it was rolled down. One of them, at least, was rolled down all of the way. Now, we know that one of the windows, I believe the driver's side, actually was broken whenever the rescue team that the police had tried to remove her vehicle from the water ended up messing up the window whenever they tumbled the vehicle with her inside of it as they went to go and remove it, which I do not understand why that is the way that they chose to go, but this is not what this video is about, so let's backtrack a bit. Now, I mentioned that Ryan Upchurch has put a video out, and his responses up until this last video have been very immature and just full of it, in my opinion, because I personally went in, I found the document for the lawsuit on the official Tennessee Middle District Court website. I found the picture of the judge that's going to be the one hearing the case. I pulled all the documentation myself from official websites for the government. Okay, this is not a fake lawsuit. And not only in this video does he actually admit to the defamation lawsuit being a situation, but he does make a lot of very good points that a lot of us were making in the, the spotlight of this entire thing blowing up across the world, right? Whenever AWP found her and things got really super, super insane. Now, I'm going to refresh this because Ryan does go over this timeline, and everything that he claims in here is accurate. Whenever Kiely went missing, the very first thing that they threw out there was an abduction story. It was what Sammy Smith was saying. It was what the Megan Cole lady that was going around, the same as WSU Kim has in the Idaho 4 case. It's what they all were claiming, that she had to have been abducted, at least at first. And let's also mind you that Megan Cole has also taken complete responsibility for the fact that Sammy Smith ended up on YouTube, so I don't know where that rabbit hole ended up taking people, but I'm sure it went pretty far down. Now, when it came to the party itself that Kiely apparently, was originally reported missing from, this was supposed to be something that happened annually, that was well known in the area for all of the graduates that were leaving to go off to college to have one big last local hurrah, okay? This was supposed to be 200 to 300 people in and out of this party over, a few hours' time. And there's been talks of people that were in other places of the campground seeing, a whole bunch of cars showing up at one time, and then a mass exodus right before the time that apparently Kiely Rodni's phone would have went off network, and they're claiming that she went into the reservoir that night. Now, we don't see that many cars leaving on the fire cam footage that was passed around for a while. You know, they have now, I don't know if the access is back up, but I know that it was removed because it was public for a long time, and then everyone started dissecting it and trying to figure out what was going on. And when we saw that the vehicle literally glided in at like maybe 10 miles an hour, and you could count the seconds of time where if she would have been awake and conscious, drunk or not, she could have gotten out of that vehicle. But then you also see another vehicle go down there after the car has, you know, gone underwater and stop for a second and then leave, which gives even more suspicion to the situation, even though the police department want to deem this as an accident. Now, we'll get to how I can put those two together here in a minute, but let's continue to try to stay on track with this. I have a lot of thoughts in my mind and in my heart when it comes to this case, so I do apologize if this one is a little different than most of my videos, because I feel like I'm kind of going back and forth a lot with my thoughts, but I'm just going to let it flow. Now, never once has any actual footage of proof of this video being a real situation ever surfaced. There has been no videos of her at a party from that night that have surfaced. There has been no photos of her at that party that have surfaced. There was a group photo of a party where some headlights were facing in at some children, some college or high school aged kids in this photo. But that was proved to be debunked and back from like the 90s and from like a Minnesota or Michigan state somewhere. It had nothing to do with this case whatsoever, but the mainstream media had that photo as being submitted as proof of the party by none other than Sammy Smith. So why Sammy Smith is getting away with not only admitting to being the last one to have talked to her, which no phone records have ever been produced to show that. Neither Kiely's or Sammy Smith's phone records have been produced to prove that there was even a phone call between the two of them that night. Sammy Smith is claiming that the phone call took place 3 minutes after Kiely's phone last pinged as being alive and in a location before it apparently was just never pinged again. And it just so happens to be in the exact same location where she was actually found. And Ryan makes a very, very good point in this part of the situation, because after all of this evidence of a party and of her being at that party and of her even being with Sammy that night has never been proven or verified, the police department, who also claims to have a certified dive team for search and rescue that has done great things in the past, spent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of man hours in the exact area where she eventually was found by AWP and acted as if they never saw her vehicle in that water. We literally watched physical divers in and out of the water, poking their heads in and out of the water, just within like 4 feet of where her vehicle was eventually found by AWP, and we're supposed to believe that they didn't see it. Now, I went back and I was listening to an interview that Nick Wren did with Crime Sleuthin' a long time ago, and I'm going to have a portion of that interview in here because I believe his statement is very valid in this, and, you know, most of you guys all know why. But whenever he was asked about the water, I believe he claimed that it was 75 degrees at the top, 73 on the bottom, and that it was only a total of about 14 feet from the surface of the water to the floor. Now, that her vehicle was at like an incline, and in this live it's mentioned that the back end of her vehicle was technically only 4 feet under the water's surface, and that the hood of her vehicle, due to the incline that it was on, was at about 11 feet. So there's no way that someone who is between 5 and 6 feet tall could have been underwater just a few days prior to Adventures with Purpose going over there and have not seen her. And let's also like keep in mind the fact that whenever Adventures with Purpose got there, they didn't want them looking in the reservoir. They wanted them looking in other places. And then Nick, the tow truck guy, showed up and actually misdirected them, in my opinion, on purpose to Boca. because within, like, what was it, less than half an hour of them getting into Prosser, they found Kiely's vehicle. And then Nick Wren went down and had eyes on Kiely in the car. Okay. And Ryan's point was, I put up this $100,000 reward plus my Hellcat, so a total of $200,000. I don't know if I remember if that's exactly how it went down in the beginning. I'm going to have to go back and check because I thought it was just the Hellcat that was put up. Like, the actual reward was going to be the Hellcat. And Ryan's reasoning was because, this was supposed to be a party with a bunch of teenagers. So if teenagers are going to say anything, it'll be because they want this badass car. But then with a whole $100,000 car up as a reward, not a single one of those 200 to 300 18-year-olds, around 18, anywhere between 16 and 19, 20, 21-year-olds that were at this party, not a single one of them came forward at all. Not even to say that they were there. And that's really strange. I mean, that is a really, really valid point. How could a boy, teenager, especially, with all the guys that we're hearing were surrounding Megs and trying to get her to take bong rips as soon as she got there, not a single one of those males was like, hell yeah, I want that car, and I got a picture of her right here, and here's a video of the party, and here's where I was texting my friends about the party and making plans on who we were going to meet up with and where and blah, blah, blah. None of that. None of that. That's really odd to me. And honestly, my questions about the case don't even have anything to do with the party, because I don't even think the party was real. I have a lot of serious questions about what happened to Kiely prior to this So-Say party, because the quote-unquote change of plans that was discussed between her and her mother were not done with a voice. They were all done with a text message. So Lindsay honestly never even heard her child's voice make those change of plans. It was just readable text. And even the whole, I need, additional time to get home tonight situation, that wasn't a voice either. That was text. So to me, you can't even validate to me that those were actually between Kiely and her mother. They could easily have been written by somebody else who's hiding what actually happened to Kiely here, because that is my actual theory. I think that something happened and an elaborate story was created to try to hide the something. And that cover-up, that thing being covered up, is what's actually being covered up. I think that a group of people, because it had to have been, in my opinion, more than one, know very well what happened because they attempted to cover it up, and now the people that are responsible for those people are now doing the best they can to keep the secret. And that's just my honest opinion on it. And I could be wrong, again, but that is my honest opinion. And again, I am from a small town. I've seen these kinds of things in action. And for those of you that are not from small towns, you cannot sit back and look at this case now and act like the world hasn't been now shown the fact that these things exist whenever all the information came out about the Murdaugh trials. Look how many things were covered up and swept under the rug for that family alone. There's families like that across America in different levels of power. I mean, and then you look now about what's going on with politicians and in Hollywood with all these truths now being told. And then it really makes you wonder how far things can go. Now, I'm not going to go down that far of a rabbit hole with this because I don't have any actual proof of that. But I will say that Ryan Upchurch does now have my attention because he said something at the end of this video that I actually heard him having a conversation with somebody else on a live before I heard him make this statement. So most of you guys that have been following the Kiely Rodni case know about a channel called Squirrels on Fire. Now, a few days ago, Ryan Upchurch joined her live, and in this conversation, it was said that these two have exchanged Instagram messages, and in these messages, Ryan apparently had sent either video or still shots of video over to Squirrels on Fire with regards to this statement right here.
So right before everybody in AWP got on the internet and was like, hey, we quit AWP, somebody came to my house. I'm not going to say who. And he was like, as somebody very close to the whole finding of this car and whatnot. They come to me and they were like, I'm scared. I was like, why? And he was like, this involves like higher up people. I was like, who? He gave me a few names. And I was like, even I was kind of like, this motherfucker crazy. And then about a week after, everybody quit AWP. It's not a thing. Now, the family that I put up $200,000 to find their daughter is like, hey, we're suing you for defamation of character.
Now, I am super curious as to who this is, if this is true. And, like I've said, I had a lot of bias towards the way that Ryan Upchurch did some things in this situation, but I do believe in the end that his heart was actually in the right place. I think that maybe the case was just driving him so insane because of things not adding up and us feeling like we were all being lied to, that maybe he just kind of let it go to his head and he didn't have somebody there to kind of keep him reeled in, which was sad, to me, in my opinion. And honestly, I kind of feel like the more recent things that have been going on in his personal life kind of prove that there's really maybe not a lot of people that really have Ryan's best interest at heart. I don't know if a lot of you guys know about what's going on with his money and his mother, but it might be something to look into. But I will say, I appreciate the video that Ryan put out this last time because, again, he acknowledged the lawsuit, which I'm still very much confused about. Now, I know that Ryan, he went around claiming that Kiely Rodni wasn't real. I don't believe any of the things that he said about the Rodneys are defamation worthy, honestly. I've gone back and listened to a lot of stuff, and I mean, the only thing that can really come out of this is that a birth certificate gets produced. I mean, because that's really kind of the only thing that they're really screaming about a lot in this, is that Kiely Rodni, he constantly said that Kiely Rodni wasn't real. Now, stuff about Ichabod is brought up in Zanime. Now, I'm not trying to go down the Zanime situation. I'm really just not. I don't know what to think about all of that. Now, I know when it came to Ichabod, I did a video originally trying to help people understand what Ryan Upchurch was trying to say about the Ronnie Jones character. And I was really kind of upset about the way that situation was going for Ryan, because the Ronnie Jones character, after Ryan started asking questions about, this is supposed to be a kids party and, you're calling up on Ichabod's show and you're claiming that your, mid-20-something-year-old cousins was at this children's party and there was a bunch of drugs there and they claim to have seen Kiely, which, again, there's no proof of anything anywhere. And Ryan started questioning this guy, and, Ronnie Jones ends up, making some sort of fake Instagram profile to try to reel Ryan Upchurch into some sort of debate online. And then he came out on Ichabod's show and, admitted that he had created this profile with this fake bio to, catch Ryan's attention and get him, literally, catfished into an argument. And that was, really strange to me, because I'm like, why would you, A, call this, true crime channel about this case that we're, all trying to figure out where this 16-year-old girl went, vanished into thin air, basically, and you're claiming that your cousins were there and, stated to you that they saw Kiely, and people start questioning you, and your response is to troll them and create fake accounts to just make you look like you're more like a liar. And so I'd originally made videos trying to, like I said, help people kind of understand what Ryan's point of view was here, because I agreed with him. Things were weird. But then I felt like he went a little bit too far. Not a little bit. He went way too far when he started unscrambling Ichabod's name and making accusations about him being, a person who takes people for nefarious purposes, YouTube and their censored words. And then Zanime showed up, and that was really strange, because the only thing she had talked about previous to this was, stuff that we're hearing about going on in our world today right now is stuff that she was doing videos on, And then she just shows up, pretty much in the spot where Kiely's car is later found, which is weird. It is very strange. But there's always going to be a case that brings you into it. Like for me, it was Kiely's case. And I mean, honestly, that was my second option because I really wanted to start this with Gabby Petito. But I'm glad that I didn't. Because just a few days before Gabby Petito's case, became a thing, I was dealing with my own DV situation. And there's reports and pictures of me, bloodied up with injuries to prove that. So when I heard what was going on with Gabby, it pulled at me on a very, very personal level, and I really wanted to get into it. And I spent hours going over information, and I have notebooks and notebooks of stuff that anytime I ever tried to do a video about it, I always found a reason not to. And I'm glad. I'm glad because I feel like I would have probably dug myself into a deeper depression with what I was personally going through at the same time that Gabby's case was forefront. So I'm glad I didn't. But when it came to Kiely, she reminded me so much of my daughter. And the way that I saw Lindsay sort of behaving about things was just really super strange to me. And everybody does, they all parent differently. But I think most of us will agree, that if your child is supposed to be doing one thing and then changes their mind to go to a party that is after, a certain time and your child is a certain age and you know that there's bad things that go on at these parties because it's an annual situation. So you're very, very aware and you don't talk to them on the phone first to hear their voice. You're not texting them throughout the night to check on them. You're not making them call you in certain increments of time for you to validate that they're okay. You're not staying up to make sure that they get home after telling you that they needed more time to get home. There's just a lot of things, and that's just my personal opinion. There's a lot of things about Lindsay that rub me wrong. And I find it really strange that in this now, very real lawsuit of defamation against Ryan Upchurch, that her name isn't listed. It's just the grandfather and Kiely's biological father. And who, from what I'm understanding from the song that was found that Kiely, created, to me that song is about her relationship with her dad. And that could be because I have my own strained relationship with my father, and so maybe I just relate to it. I don't know. But that's what it sounds like. So it sounds like he wasn't really involved in her life all that much, if that is the case. So it's like the people, like the grandfather was the closest to her from conversations that I've had with people that were involved in this whole situation. The grandfather and her were like besties, like super close besties. And I know that when it came to the Callie Ross situation, that Ryan went too far with that one. That's that's the whole point what I was trying to get to. I felt like Mel, okay, and the Callie Ross girl have way more stance of a defamation lawsuit against Ryan Upchurch than Kylie's grandfather and biological father do. I don't know. I have a lot of strange just feelings about this case, and I guess that I'm just trying to figure out the way that I'm trying to figure out all my feelings about it. I really am. We all know that whenever they were down there looking for Kiely, AWP, whenever they were down there looking for Kiely, we've been told already several times that Jared was not there, that he was in Utah dealing with, the charges that are popping up now from his childhood that we've discussed here on this channel. But it's still very strange to me that after the Kiely Rodni case is whenever all that stuff started coming to light to the public. And then if you take what Ryan is now stating, if he's being truthful about someone coming to his house and giving him this crazy warning prior to everyone, jumping ship with AWP, it kind of makes you wonder. Because, we have proof of what Epstein's done, and the only one in jail is Ghislaine. We have validation of hundreds of disgusting freaks that our hard-earned dollars goes into their pockets literally on a daily basis, and we don't know their names. So I don't know. I don't know. But again, I am not claiming to try to solve anything. This is a true crime reaction channel. I'm reacting to what the public gets when it comes to these situations, and I just so happen to have a criminal justice with a concentration in forensic science degree that keeps me really super interested in details, like how an autopsy report reads. It's usually pretty important. And the autopsy does not scream the story that we're being told about what happened to Kiely. And I feel like if there was a fight to be fought, it would be for justice for their daughter. As upset as I was about the way that Ryan Upchurch behaved, because I, as a mom, wouldn't want my son to be behaving that way about how he felt about something. I'd want him to be rational and coherent about it so that he was taken seriously. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. But when you take away all of the emotions and all of the yelling and the screaming and the this and the that, and you get down to the basics and you just lower your frequency a little, none of this makes any sense. And justice has yet to be served for Kiely. I just don't know if it ever will be. And that's just the sad part, because I feel like this is probably, I don't know. I'm just going to stop it. I'm just going to stop it here. The CHP report is supposed to be being closed up soon. I don't feel like that's going to change. I feel like they're probably not going to have any new revelations in that we haven't already guessed would be coming. But when it does come out, we'll go over it. I think that's really all I wanted to say. I am anxious to see what Ryan has to say next, because, I mean, the people have not been wrong when they make the statement that if anyone can get some sort of truth out of anything, it'd be Ryan. He has the money to fight it. And it kind of seemed like he wasn't really going to push the issue, but they've kind of pushed his hand at him now pushing the issue, I guess. So yeah, a lot of people are right. This could end up giving us some sort of answers to something. Or it might just be settled out of court, because it's just another one of those things that people do, and it might end up just fading away. I don't know. But I guess we'll find out soon. See y'all.
I don't really like the fact that they just say, we rule it an accident, and that's it. I'm not going to give you any more information. Okay, if that's an accident, then to explain to me how she was in the back of the vehicle. Why were the windows rolled down? Why did nobody see her go in? Or why has nobody spoke out? Give us your theory as to how she ended up there, and then maybe all of us can process, okay, that's acceptable. But to just come out and say it's an accident and turn around and walk off stage, that doesn't make me feel all that great.